a Business, a podcast where we talk about the business, our family, and the many shenanigans involved. I'm Emily King.
I'm Richie King.
And we are live most Mondays. However, this week we are live on Thursday. And the reason is because it's New Year's Eve, everybody. That's right.
Yep.
2020 is going out.
Thank God.
Bada boom, bada bang. See you later. No more repeat of 2020.
That's right.
Okay, so you can check us out on any of the podcast channels, iTunes, Spotify,
Google Podcasts.
Are we on Rumble yet? Harrison Branch? Rumble?
I've looked into Rumble, and Rumble's not a thing.
What do you mean it's not a thing?
What is it called then?
Rumble is a thing.
Okay.
Rumble, I've looked up Rumble. Variations including RUMBL, RUMBLE, and nothing has come up in terms of podcast services.
Okay.
Can't
It's not a
confirm.
podcast. I think it's a video service.
Okay, so we will talk more about that. And don't forget to check out the merch store, asvcmerch.com.
Yep.
And like I said, we're here most Mondays around 11. Mm-hmm. So with it being New Year's Eve, are you excited to see 2020 go, Mr. King?
Yes, I'm not sad to see 2020 go. Yes.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Who could have possibly predicted that the year would turn out the way that it did? Ultimately, yeah. I'm
Craziness.
glad. I'm not sad to see 2020 go. Unlike other years where you're like, oh well, better year next year. But this year you're like, yes, please, let's turn this page and get going.
Turn the page.
One more trip around the sun. Good Lord.
However, with it being New Year's Eve, one of the things we were going to talk about today were our predictions.
Okay.
So what are you predicting for next year?
I'm predicting it's not going to be as bad as 2020. I think things will open up. I mean, the bar is set mighty low, but I think
it is set pretty low. When you have people out there going, it's going to be horrible, very horrible, horrible time.
The worst is yet to come. I was like, wow.
The worst is yet to come.
Captain Sunshine over here. Good to see you again. Good Lord.
So are you predicting that the kids, let's start with school, our kids' own school, are they going to go back to school in a normal fashion this year?
In the fall, probably.
Not till the fall.
I would say.
Harrison, what is your prediction?
I agree with that.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that when does the last trimester start for Garen?
The last trimester begins in
April?
March, I think.
All right.
March might be a little early. I'm thinking that they are going to somehow figure out how to be all in person towards the end of the year.
I think you're going to have a repeat. This is my feeling. My feeling is you're going to have a repeat of graduation similar to what Trevor had.
Now, I will say, I didn't mind that graduation, actually.
I didn't either.
I think that's how they should do graduation moving forward.
Yeah, weather permitting.
I mean,
yeah.
It was perfect. It was outdoors.
Hot.
It was at night. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. It was a neat atmosphere. The sun was coming. It was really pretty.
I
get why they don't, because they can't predict the weather, and there's probably some issues in regards to weather. But it was a really cool environment, and that sun was going down, and with the sun, the sunset, and it was just great. They had a jumbotron, and
I think the only reason I say that is that I think that collectively there's been so much of this fear built in to everybody's kind of collective psyche that it's going to take a long time for that to fade away. And I don't think you can measure it in months. It's probably going to be measured in years, even when the vaccines rolled out. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day who's about my age, about 5 or 6 years younger than maybe. And he was saying that he was putting in some for the vaccine. It's the end of the year before he's even eligible to get it. So, So I mean, until they can do that, and I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I'm optimistic. I think. I'd like to think that they would, that things would loosen up a bit faster. But if past is prologue, it'll take a while. But I mean, to your point, I think in the fall, you could see things.
So you're voting for fall for school for
well,
Garen,
I think
to
at
be
that
back
point though,
in person.
I think at
the
that
time.
point though, you're a year and a half into this, and there's got to be that line where people say enough.
Well, I am pushing
haven't
for
reached yet.
them being back in the classroom as soon as possible, because they won't stop cooking at our house.
I know, right? Yes, I've got a couple of
Chef
Guy Fieri's
Boyardee's.
and Emeralds and. It's like, guys, I mean, does everything you cook have to make a mess? I'm just asking. Does it have to involve melted cheese on the stove?
It is always melted cheese or
Cooking
fried
oil.
Cooking oil.
Yeah. Let's make cheese sticks.
Yes.
Let's
Now,
make a batter and let's
in
take
their
this.
defense, I will say what they have chosen to make
That's
Been
good.
pretty good.
Yeah, the cheese sticks out there are good.
It's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Like restaurant, like quality. I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, we had actually, speaking of good food, we had for Christmas Day, was it? We had a tenderloin, and it was about as good as I've ever had. And your mustard sauce,
Oh, well, thank you.
fabulous.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, it was great. I mean, the fact that it's all gone suggests that we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I don't even want to tell everyone the size of the tenderloin we got with our children. They ate it all.
It's like they're like locusts. You put it out there and it's just gone. Vultures come in. It's like bones picked dry.
Gosh, it was crazy.
They literally ate almost. Well, there was a few servings left.
Yeah,
but it was insane. But they liked it. I mean, that's the point of it, is that they enjoy it. And
exactly.
although you're
you don't
spoiled
have it very often
after you eat good food like that.
Oh my gosh, for
For
sure.
a second.
Okay, so next prediction. Okay, wait. I have to just say this.
I have another prediction. Go ahead.
You have no prediction?
I have another
Oh,
prediction.
then go for it.
I think the financial markets are going to explode.
Okay,
I think the stock market's going to continue to go up.
no one listened to him for your financial advice. We are not responsible for.
We said a prediction.
Okay, so what are you predicting? What financial markets? Be specific.
I think hard asset prices are going to go up, with the exception of commercial real estate. I think land's going to go up. I think residential real estate will continue to go up within certain price ranges. Mm-hmm. I think because people are. I mean, I think the problem that I think big investors are going to be looking for is, or they're going to have to solve, is they've got to go with some kind of return, and the Fed will keep rates this low probably through 2022. So you've got to go and get a return somewhere, because with inflation you lose purchasing power if you don't put it somewhere. So I think those are the big things going forward.
So there you have Richie's.
That's what I think.
financial
I mean, who
prediction.
knows what could happen? I mean, I don't think. Now I'll make another prediction. I think that once this COVID stuff does lift, you're going to see the travel and leisure industry absolutely explode.
Will you be able to travel on a plane without a vaccine?
Nah, who knows? Maybe.
What are you predicting? Yes or no?
I think if enough people get the vaccine such that the numbers go down where you'd still probably travel with a mask, but I mean, that probably won't make you get the vaccine.
Harrison, what's your prediction? Are you going to have proof of vaccine to be able to fly on an airplane?
No.
You don't have to
You
have
say
it
no?
now.
No.
You have to make a business decision at some point, because if you do that, then you're like, why don't you have to do it?
Australia's already done it.
Yeah, we're not Australia though.
Okay. Well, they're airlines.
I'm sure that it will be highly frowned upon to the point where it'll be socially unacceptable to do so.
Yeah, I would think so.
How are they going to know if you get it or not, though?
I don't know.
Are they going to
You're
you
going to
have
have
a
a
card?
little barcode in your wrist.
Go on Alibaba and come with some counterfeit things.
I did read an article yesterday or the other day about the Department of Transportation redefining the definition of support animals for online air travel. And I believe that Alaska Airlines is the first one to say, we are not doing this anymore. You cannot have
Good.
emotional support animals on board. I was like, yeah. I
Your
was like, after the
iguana.
squirrels incidents, after the, I was like, yeah, that took a while for them to decide that. But
Yeah.
so that, I think we'll see if any other airlines adopt that.
And I do think airlines are going to do well next year. I mean, compared to 2019, how can you do any worse?
Yeah.
There's no way you could do any worse.
The number for the Christmas flights were unbelievable. It was like 1.5 million people flew or something like that, and that was the most that have flown since 2018, or sorry, since March.
I don't know. I think the research shows that it's an
not a
unlikely
vector.
place for you to catch
Right.
COVID or
Right.
something like that. Just like what? Oh, restaurants? Oh, sorry, I won't go there.
I know,
Okay.
right? Because
All right. So,
where's the California? You have to take your mask off only to take a bite. Like, well, I go.
oh
home.
goodness. Okay, what's another prediction? Do you have another one?
Boy. Another prediction. I'm kind of fresh out right now.
No other ones, huh?
I think you'll see. Okay, this is another prediction. I think you'll see college enrollment continue to go down. The freshmen in some of these places are down like 20, 30%, which is catastrophic, really, because once you lose that incoming class, I mean, it's down that far. It's just it's a wave that has to wash it.
Yeah.
I do think that you'll see, we've talked about this before, but I think people will continue to look for alternatives. I think once you've introduced that alternative and it appears viable, people aren't going to want to go back. Well, I won't say they would. The numbers, I mean, it was already in decline. I think it's an 8-year decline in college enrollment overall. But I think that's just going to go down okay, back up a bit. Brick and mortar in the traditional way that, say, you and I receive that service. I think that that mode of the delivery of that service will continue to go down with this, because people are now comfortable with Zoom and all this other stuff, and especially if they make it so that you can consume the content on your own, master that skill set on your own, and thus speed up your graduation date.
Right.
And I think that what it's also done is it's pushed some of those programs that were kind of marginal. You're like, I've never heard of this or whatever. It's just going to become more and more commonplace. And I got one more prediction. Walmart, there is a company called Gatik, I think it's Gatik, that's working with Walmart, which is a big deal, on their driverless trucking. And what they were doing was they had a driver that would ride in the truck and then take it to the hub. Well, this is going to be completely driverless. And this guy said this is going to be rolled out within 18 months or so, or 12 to 18. He goes, and self-driving cars will be not too far behind.
Oh, weird.
And what that's going to do is revolutionize. Well, there's two effects. It's going to revolutionize inventory management, shipping, but it's also going to the unemployment effect. What does it do to all those operators now that they have to have?
Right.
What will where will those people go? And also, I think if they ever dial in you're already seeing this now. You're seeing more and more brands roll out a true electric vehicle, like the electric Mustang. You're seeing this slowly, kind of, which must be the wave of which way things are going. So you'll have that transition over into true driverless vehicles.
Right.
So it'll be like Uber. Like you come to work, you just jump in an Uber and go. It'll show up at your house. Hey, can you be here at 8 or whatever? And it shows up, brings you up here, drops you off, done.
Yeah.
So fewer cars owned.
Right.
Because you only use the car when you need it.
Only so many minutes out of the day, yeah.
Yeah. So, and maybe fewer, I think fewer cars for sure. Anyway, those are my big, broad predictions. We'll see what happens.
What would you predict for the clinic?
Oh, boy. I think that I don't think that trend of focus on your companion animals is going to fade necessarily. I think that's a trend that's probably going to stick around for at least the next 12 to 18 months. I think curbside will probably go away. I think that'll slowly go away. I think through the first quarter, a lot of people will continue with curbside.
Yeah.
I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic about our future with the clinic. But we have a lot of things we work out on the back end to kind of ensure that.
Right.
We're constantly working on things. So
yeah, I think that people will. It depends. I think that curbside stuff really depends on the practice owner and their own comfort level with how they view the circumstances around them.
Right.
And then I think that we still offer curbside just from a convenience perspective, or just people for whatever reason for whatever reason they want to use curbside, they can use curbside. It doesn't matter whether it's related to COVID or not. I think I think that's the true advantage of keeping or bringing something like curbside on, is using it for other applications, or you were able to identify that it could be used as an application to make it more convenient for owners, moms or dads that have kids or whatever it might be, you'd rather be reading or on a business meeting than in the clinic where you can't do those things because somebody's interrupting you or whatever. But so I think that leveraging those services, I think is helpful. I think that I agree. I think the clinic is going to continue to do well, into 2021, with the focus being on companion animals, the heavy focus on companion animals that COVID brought forward.
I think from an industry standpoint, I think you'll see more and more corporations owning clinics versus just single owners. I think I think if there's been one lasting thing, I think that's just my gut. It tells me that a lot of targets that were maybe hesitant or kind of not quite there, this event has made people step back and take stock and say, I'm done. Or,
I think it was entirely too grueling. And if you depending on where you were at in your arc, like your work, arc, there's going to be people who are like, yeah.
They're like, I want to
not
run
again. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm
Peace
not managing
out.
this again.
Yeah.
And if the number's right, I'm out. I'm just going
Yeah.
to retire in the next 10 years anyway. The number's right, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only reason I say that is because from things that I've heard and read, it just seems like they're being more aggressive, some of these consolidators, and I think that they are they see the opportunity to go in and grow quickly because of the events that have taken place.
Now, where do you predict Holden is going to college? Or where do you think he's going to
Purdue,
start?
RUPY.
No, you have to pick one. You can't pick two.
Okay, well, if he follows in his dad's footsteps and will do anything for his girl, I predict Purdue.
Okay, Harrison, what's your prediction?
What?
Harrison's shaking his head.
He'll go to Purdue.
You're saying Purdue. I'm going to IUPUI.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just going out on a limb because there's something
Maybe
attractive.
too small for him.
I don't know. He liked it. He might still consider running. I don't know. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say IUPUI.
He's one of the college freshman with braces. Bro. I remember.
He's getting them off soon.
Do you remember how hard he fought? Him saying, "They're my teeth. I should be able to do what they want." I was like, I guess. You're going to be wearing these. You're going to be drinking a beer with braces on,
I think
dude.
Harrison was the one who convinced him to finally get the braces.
Right.
But he's on this thing now where he's not cutting his hair until he gets his braces off, and his braces are scheduled to come off at some point here in the near future. And so he's planning when he's getting his hair cut, because I'm like, you got a rat's nest going on in your hair.
He has beautiful hair, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to admit. I mean,
It's
thick,
crazy.
reddish, that's Scotch Irish, whatever it is that we have.
Oh,
and
it's so like fluffy.
And it just sits up. He's got just like a man pro. Not like mine, but close.
Oh gosh. So yeah. So those are okay. So that's what we're predicting for.
I think. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he might. He's spoken before about really liking the environment at Purdue, and I could see him going there too. Although he seems really excited. I mean, he got accepted into the business school at IUPUI.
Right.
Things must have changed a lot because that did not happen when this guy was in business school.
It probably has to do with the fact that enrollment's down.
Right.
That could be a factor. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's hysterical.
Oh gosh. And let's see here. What are some other things that we should guess? Harrison, do you have any other predictions for 2021?
Do you think that my wedding will happen as per usual?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good prediction.
I think so.
Yes, I'm going with yes because
they're having them now.
Of your venue where it's at,
right?
And then the fact that it can happen under the radar, and
secret knock.
You're gonna have a secret knock to get into the venue, and it's gonna be a major party, and everybody is on the same page.
Yeah,
and likes to party. That will be there.
It'll be fun. It's funny as this is kind of a nice segue since you're talking about his wedding. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this past week. So our anniversary is December 23rd because Emily was in vet school at the time. So we had to kind of squeeze it in there because we wanted to be married before graduation, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what. So hats off to wonderful 25 years. And and it's funny because I remember looking at some of the pictures and I'm reminded of how fun you are and why everybody loves you. And
oh, you're very nice. Thanks.
So that's it. What are you? What? I'm talking over here. She's over there. Please stop talking. I have nothing to say.
No, I do. I feel like it's gone by very fast.
Yeah.
So we are super lucky.
She's over there. Thought bubble. Sometimes not fast enough. Thanks, buddy.
No, it's been good. It was great. Our wedding was awesome. We had snow. It was a great event. We had tons of people there that were my parents' friends, and then a couple of our own friends, and it was a great event.
Yeah, it was.
And the past 25 years have been fantastic. There's all the men right there.
And I think that's a testament to a wonderful union. Is that when time goes by so quickly that you just look back and you go, my God, that feels like yesterday.
It does. It
and
really
it just
does,
wasn't. It was a quarter century ago.
People often ask us how we work together. Like, I could never work with my spouse. And, we're always laughing because we're like, I can't imagine not working with my spouse.
Right, it'd be boring.
Like, it would be, because so much of, and Harrison probably can speak to this. I mean, we're constantly working
Right.
But it doesn't feel like you're constantly working because you're doing it with somebody you love, but then also they have a shared interest. And,
You have a
and now
collective
you add
goal.
Harrison to it.
Right.
Now he has a shared interest in the success of the family business. And so he's got his own ideas. He brings when we're all getting together, we're talking about the business, or we're talking about we heard this or this or
Right.
that. You know, now you have Holden who has an opinion or Johnny who has an opinion. And so
Right.
it definitely adds a whole different thing to it.
You know, it's funny because I think, and I've said this before 1,000 times, is one of the greatest things about this whole experience since we opened the clinic was that constant chase towards being better, being, greater, just constantly trying to improve. And I think that that's what always fascinates me. And because you have a vested interest in the outcome, I mean, you it makes it personal. And I think
Right.
I've heard someone say, "You'll never work harder than if you work for yourself," which is true.
Right.
You know, when you work you've had jobs, I've had jobs where you go, you do what you're supposed to do, but I mean, you get kind of paid the same whether you kill yourself or, stay at baseline.
Right.
So it's very different when you're on your own place. And it's been, and it's funny you mentioned the kids have noticed that because they've said that. I mean, they've
Right.
said you never stop talking about it. But that's fun. That's the fun part of it. I working with you has been awesome, and it's amazing.
Well, we never have nothing to talk about. We always
No.
have something.
Always have something to
There's
talk about.
always something.
Yeah, and you inject. I would look at our situation and go, how on earth do you work together, run a business, and have 5 kids? That would be what I would say. How do you do it? And I would say you just do it.
Yep.
You just do what you have to do, and it is what it is. And it's been a crazy journey, but it's been fun.
A lot of fun.
Makes life interesting, and it makes me like, look at that.
Oh, God.
Who's that beauty? Holy smokes!
That's forever ago. Okay, next picture, Harrison. Oh, goodness.
You know, it is funny though, because I think back to it's, and maybe you feel like this too. You step back and you go, holy smokes, was that really that long ago? Was this really that? I look at pictures like of our first apartment or something, and I go, how on that was that long ago? So it was crazy.
Yeah,
It's good. It's been fun. It's been can't wait for the next. Oh wow, look at that. Oh, whoever built that did a really good job. Clearly a craftsman.
Oh, gosh. Goodness.
Do you remember breaking those
gracious.
things apart?
Oh, my gosh.
How big they were?
They were so big.
I don't remember what we did with them.
I don't know.
I remember Jared and I built it and we couldn't get it. He goes, we used to do it with Randy's all the time. I said, did you really? Because it keeps coming up not
There's
level.
Carla. Look at Carla. Oh. Yeah.
Gosh, how long has she been here? Since 2006?
She's been here a long time.
Yeah.
No, not 2006. I want to say 2010.
That late? What amazes me is looking back, and this is honest to God, and you're amazing as it is anyway, so, I mean, I get it. But I don't know how on earth you did 6 days a week, plus the kennel on Sundays. Well, I mean, I came over and worked on Sundays. How we did that for that long. And I never even thought about it.
I don't know.
That's what we do.
Yep. that's what we
Monday
did.
through Friday, you were the only
But if you
vet.
remember in the very beginning with the kennel, my dad, it was like Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Day. My sisters were
Oh, yeah, we
helping.
came up and did it.
I mean, there were people helping that
to
would
leash
normally
walk.
help, and they leash walked. Everybody
Yeah.
came up and helped leash walk the dogs. Yeah. Wow.
That was bad. That was
And so the success of the place has been dependent upon many people being emotionally invested
Oh,
into
sure.
its success, including all of the people that have ever worked at the practice.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's contributed. I think absolutely. It's it's been a lot of work.
And of course, we're super lucky because we have the best clients around to
Oh, absolutely.
help us be able to work in a way that we were trained to work, meaning that giving us opportunities to actually be practicing veterinarians. You know, a lot of times veterinarians aren't so fortunate, or they're working in areas where that isn't the case. And we're super lucky that we have people that have a true interest in knowing, one, what's wrong, or what options do they have to treat their pet, and then, following through and treating their pets. And then, it makes for a really good relationship on both sides because that's what the whole reason you went to school. So
yeah, and I think toot our horn a bit, but I think one of the things that made this work so well was that we've always tried to be as forward thinking as possible. Look at trends, look at things. And I think the other thing that helped was that that kind of hard line between the business side and then the medical side.
Yeah.
And I was always doing the business side, and you were obviously doing the medical side. And I think a lot of times you don't have that. You have somebody trying to wear so many hats that it's overwhelming.
Right.
And I think it's tough. It's tough to grow and think of all those things because you can't hardly handle what's on your plate at any given moment.
Right.
So I've even heard people say on the message boards now, they're like, we can't handle any more business doing the business the way that we're doing right now.
Right.
Which has got to be tough because,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not growing, you're kind of dying. So that's worked out really well for you and I. So very pleased. There's always brighter days ahead. So
absolutely
looking forward to that. What are we going to do one of these days when we're not doing it? You ever thought about that?
Well, there's enough things that we like to do together that it's same.
You're going to be watching the Victorian Farm shows.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
That's my prediction
right.
for 2021 is they're going to be making more shows like that, which don't need to be put out. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Okay,
They
I haven't
do
watched
not
Tudor
need to be.
Farm yet. I'm watching that next.
Oh, my God, please.
It is hysterical.
So bad.
Why is it so bad? Tell me why you don't like it.
They're just as painful to watch.
Why?
Because it's just not, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Harrison, why is it
I'd
painful to
equivalent
watch?
those shows to watching paint dry. That's probably what I would watch. That's probably what I'd equivalent it to.
You know, what's fascinating to me about these shows, and to kind of give a bit of a background, it's a British show that they've gone to different time periods, and they've taken these historians / archaeologists, and they live on these farms for a year, and they work, and they do the various
Are these
tasks.
actors archaeologists?
No, they're legit people.
Oh, they're legit. They're not like actors.
No.
They're just people who want to just see what it's like to live in these
Well,
farms.
they make these series, and they'll go in, and they'll, you know, in Britain it's different here. The large estates are owned by, you know, the farms that have been around forever. That's just the way it is there. And so they'll go to and they'll be tenant farmers basically for a year, and they'll take the plot of land that they're given and work it. What's fascinating to me is because it's period based. So you'll have the Victorian area, like the mid 1800s. I saw one. It was Tales from the Green Valley.
Tales from the Green Valley.
It was from the 1500s.
That's what I'd always come downstairs and see him watching Tales of the Green Valley.
So it's
There they are. Oh yes, the Tales of the Green Valley.
That's the plow. Anyway, they would show how they did, and what's fascinating about these shows is that you watch it and you think, and they always remark, they say, there's never nothing to do on the farm.
Right.
And you watch this and you think, no wonder people, I mean, work themselves to death by the time they were 50, because I mean, you're literally going all day or every day, and so your livelihood and your life sometimes was dependent upon your success of your crops, and that's what's fascinating is I watch that. Everything's interdependent. Your crops, the health of your crops depends upon, I mean, it will lead to whether or not your livestock make it. And if your livestock don't make it, you don't have the livestock to help work the fields. And what they'll go in and they'll her name is Helen, I think. And anyway, she does all the domestic stuff. It's fascinating.
I'm not saying anything.
So it's what else is interesting too in Victorian farms. Victorian Christmas I just finished, but they talk about how they made fabric, and you watch that and you think, we don't even think about it now. You just go to the store and buy something.
Yep.
But they had to make
true.
everything, and you think, no wonder you didn't have what you have now. It's interesting.
Yep.
So
It is.
It's a cool show.
Well, good. I'm glad you're learning.
Yeah. I don't know how people do it.
You'll be prepared if there's, a massive,
I don't know about that.
grid,
Dad-
loss of electricity, and
Dad talking about Victorian Farm is like me talking Star Wars to Madeline. It's like I'll be like, yeah, Anakin's going this way, and Obi-Wan, oh my God, he just got shot, and he's going in his fighter plane this way. Did you see the Slave One by Boba Fett? And she's like, wow, yeah, great.
oh gosh.
Well, she doesn't have the history with it though. I mean, if she'd watched them from the beginning, she might be just as into it. Do you think that's? Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You don't.
So, but now another show about British is The Crown, which I am into right now. So
that's a dark show.
It is. It's very fascinating. I still can't. Cindy and I talk about this show here at work, and I'm like, I don't. It's so weird because she's still alive. Like, I wonder what that's like. Like, there's a show about you, and you're still alive. Like, and it's not like a biography. It's drama, basically a drama. So like, you're like, did this really happen? Do you think this really happened? Like, they have the letters and they have the TV footage, and so I'm sure they put it all together and then figure out. But anyway, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So all of you folks over there in
Oh, in Britain, absolutely.
In Britain who are listening need to Facebook us and tell us
what you think of the show and what questions you have.
No, not of our show.
What?
Of The Crown.
Oh, is it legit or not?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they need to tell us if it's actually legit. Like, do they think it's legit? What do they think of the royal family? Are they poo-poo? Like, do you poo-poo it? Like, are you kind of like us with the Kennedys where we're like, psh.
No, Levitt, my brother-in-law, he spent some time in England, and he said he's always been struck by the attention that the royal family gets because it's very, we just don't have that cultural.
Well,
that
what's
culture
interesting
here.
when I watch it is they talk about it's about the crown. It's not about the person or the individual, and it's very much discouraged that you bring any individualistic traits to the job of being king or queen, that it is about the crown. And so you must not be an individual. You are representing the crown, basically, the institution.
Right. Well,
it's fascinating to hear them talk about it. And
but they see that what's fascinating to me is that we, as Americans, it's tough for us to appreciate the history. And these people, I mean, it's been around like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was in college once, and this guy was talking about American people will say, or even Eddie Izzard's got this thing. People say, "Oh, this was restored to the way it was 50 years ago," and he's like, "There are bars that have been open since the 1400s in Germany."
Right.
I mean, we can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
And so, to your point about the institution, that's a long history to try and have to uphold.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm struck by with the series is the weight of that responsibility.
Oh yeah, for
like
sure.
Like how the brother, kind of spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but the Queen Elizabeth's father became king because his brother abdicated.
Right.
And you can tell the scorn they have to say, really, you're going to abdicate for this reason? And
yeah.
And one of the reasons they said he died early was because of the pressure of becoming king unexpectedly and then having to manage the war and all that other stuff.
Right.
It's fascinating, and to see her because she never expected to be queen.
No,
because her dad was never going to be king.
Well, and then her mother, who's the wife of the king, was like, "What do you mean?" Like basically, without saying it, she said it to friends. Well, this is what that says in the show, that she was like, "How can they give this to her daughter, when she has no experience? And here I am I was doing all of these things, and now I'm not doing any of them anymore." And like that feeling of having no purpose,
right.
And so they talked about how she was managing that type of depression probably or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, across the pond there, if y'all are on Facebook, hit us up with some actual info or questions.
Our most downloads are from Walsall, if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not, Blackheath, and Manchester.
Manchester, right.
So, yeah. And
that culture is fascinating to me.
Yeah. So anyway, it's one of my favorite shows right now that I'm watching through.
One of the other things that fascinates me about the monarchy and everything is that America's still relatively young. You have a lot of wealth here, but you don't have that hundreds of years of wealth that's handed down over and over. And that's where English common law, that's where a lot of the estate law came, was you wanted to be able to, it was your responsibility as a parent to put together, an estate or an inheritance to perpetuate, the family, whatever.
Right.
Which kind of goes to the Victorian farm, all those things. I mean, you had land that you would put together, and it just went from family to family to family, as it was handed down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The wealth that's always interested me. You look at an institution like that, and I've often wondered, some people don't do well with it. I mean, they'll come into the monarchy and then, as a wife, and then fall out of it because they call the pressures of being royal. And I've often wondered what that is. It must be that responsibility and the spotlight put on you must be tough.
Oh, I'm sure.
You just can't be, it's yeah.
According to Business Insider, According to Business Insider, the British royal family is collectively worth an estimated $88 billion when looking at the crown's concrete assets in combination with the value of the family brand. Forbes reported in 2017. Queen Elizabeth II had an estimated personal net worth of $530 million as of 2016.
That's low. I would think that'd be low.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, there are people, I remember reading
and then you
something.
watch them and you see their behavior now, and so then you watch what they're doing, and it's like after watching the show or parts of the show, and you're like, oh, that's so weird, that's so interesting.
Well, what do you think, just as a curiosity, what do you think is the future of the monarchy? Do you think that, because growing up, we were inundated with Prince Charles and Diana and all that stuff.
I haven't gotten to that part in the show yet.
Oh well, I mean, I wonder if they will skip over Charles and go directly to William and Catherine. They seem to be the future of the.
Yeah.
That's personally what I think.
Yeah.
I think they fit that mold, and I'm sure the Queen is looking and saying, if I want to perpetuate this, I can't send it to Charles first. It's got to go to.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that happens though. Does that even happen?
I have no idea.
Skip? I don't know.
We'll find out.
I don't know
Maybe
what the rules
somebody will
are.
write in and tell us.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, as we get to the end of the podcast here, what are rapid fire, Harrison? You're involved. Rapid fire some of the best things about, because we talked about our predictions, we've talked about all the crappy things that have happened in 2020. Mm-hmm. What are some good things that you saw happen in 2020? Harrison, go.
Seeing the clinic thrive through the pandemic has been great. Acting on the fly has been awesome. Implementing new ideas has been great. My side of the business has been awesome. Things have been on the up and up. In terms of my personal life, buying a house was up there. And Madeline moving down here to Indiana to stay with me was great. Getting Annie was awesome. And there are a lot of great games that came out this year. So,
okay, there you go.
What about you?
Me, I have to. My top has to be Baby Yoda.
Okay. What?
Agree though. I completely
No, that was a
agree.
great show.
Baby Yoda brought so much joy.
I love that show.
And I was telling the girls about The Mandalorian and how he's just such a strong character and strong man, but yet he's so loving and he's father-like. And the girls who haven't seen the show are like, you're crazy in the head. But I'm saying Baby Yoda was one of the best things that happened in 2020. I'm going with that.
There you go.
All the new employees that we added at All-Star.
Right.
Who've added a tremendous additional layer of intelligence and caring and everything to the clinic. So those guys, I would agree with Harrison. Surviving the pandemic. No, you know what? Not only surviving, kicking its butt.
Right.
That's pretty much was a good thing about 2020. And our 25th wedding anniversary. Mm-hmm. And homeschooling Calvin. Sorry, that's you.
That's a good thing. I don't know.
But yes, that was one of the best things to come
asking.
out. That was one of the best things to come out of 2020.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to have some property in Tennessee now.
Yes, absolutely.
And so those are my favorite things.
Yeah.
And Trevor graduating high school.
Trevor graduating. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I think 2020 taught me always expect the unexpected. I've always thought that, but not nearly to the degree to which it presented itself this year. And I think the way that we responded collectively and individually, I mean, the way you led us, led everybody through the pandemic and the grit that you exhibited was noteworthy, I think. Let's see. Boy, just like you say, going in and saying, damn the torpedoes, let's kill it. Let's go do this. Let's get it done. And I think that's even going to Calvin's homeschooling, we've always been like that as a unit, is to say, what do we need to do? Let's do it. Go.
Right.
And I think that's what that's one of the things big things I take away from 2020, which bodes well for 21.
Yep.
I think you take those collective challenges and you say, let's get it done. And,
now, I'm a fan of Wonder Woman because I feel like she's, represents a lot of things. And I liked the movie, didn't mind it at all because I like her as an actress. I know nothing of her other than she was in the Israeli army. So I'm going with Wonder Woman as
the best movie?
No, not the best movie, just inspiring. Wonder Woman's inspiring.
As an official moviegoer, I cannot recommend this movie to anybody watching this podcast. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Go watch the first one. The first one is way better.
The first one is way better.
Let me just tell you.
Okay, the first one is way better. But it's the actress. She's awesome.
I know Gal
and her
Gadot
story
is
awesome.
great. She's a great person. She is, but I have to say that in the first movie, it's so great. There's so much action. I love the origin story. In the second movie, there's, I think, 2 scenes of action in the entire 2 hours and 30 minutes of the movie.
You know what's amazing about that movie? And I remember thinking about this when we were watching it, and I said, it's fascinating because you look at how they shoot this, and she's shot as like this 5'10", large woman, but then you actually see pictures of her, and she's not large. I mean, she's just a petite woman.
Yeah.
But how they shoot it, it's interesting how they do it so that they create that character,
right?
That warrior kind of character,
right?
but I mean, she doesn't look like that. But she does have a really cool story.
So
how
anyway.
so it's cool. It's yeah.
I
I know Harrison didn't like the most recent movie, but I did watch it and it wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it's for a free movie. If I'd gone and dropped $100, I'm like,
I'd been upset. Yeah, but seeing that movies are completely changing moving forward, it was fun waiting for Christmas Day and then going, all right, everybody, do you have your popcorn? Do you have your candy? And we all sat down and we watched it. And that was cool. I mean, that was fine, like as far as a new release. And that's all coming. It's going to continue that way. And it's weird now because you see movies, like I've seen previews and they say, coming to Netflix on da-da-da, or in your theater on da-da-da.
Right.
And so I think that's going to be it's the way it goes moving forward.
I have a little funny story because it's an interesting little tidbit and how Emily and I kind of work. We had to go buy a new TV because our old TV you couldn't get the app.
Right.
So I had used an old. What?
All the HDMI imports were messed up.
Okay, it wasn't that. Anyway, I had to go buy a new TV, and we get the TV, and the back thing didn't fit exactly on the. It's a pull-out bracket.
Right.
So we're sitting there, and I go, "This is not going to work." I'm going because I'm always trying to be very precise when I do things, and I was like, "This isn't going to work," and this will fit this way, it won't fit that way. And then Emily said, "Just put Velcro on it on the bottom bracket." I was like, "Oh yeah, we could do that. We'll just put Velcro on, just double-sided Velcro," and then it wouldn't fit into the shelf. And then she said, "Hey, let's just take the shelf out and we'll do this stuff." And I was like, "Thank God for your insight." This is taking me. I'd have been going back and forth to Ace 50 times trying to get this ground out or that ground out. So hats off to you, dear.
That worked.
That's one of my favorite things of 2021.
Movie I can recommend though to everybody listening is Klaus. That's a great movie.
Oh yeah,
great movie to watch during the Christmas season, even into the new year. So,
are you surprised, Harrison, at how the quality of movies that are on streaming services now?
No.
You're not?
No.
Really? Okay.
I always imagined that when Netflix said that they were going to release original content, I always thought that it was going to be top notch. And like
right.
in terms of visually, in terms of like storytelling and whatnot, it was rocky at first, and it kind of still is to some degree, but
they're pouring a lot of money into that content.
Once they got Stranger Things, that was one of their really big beginning ones.
That's probably the first cultural Netflix thing.
And I would say Netflix and HBO Max have some of the best original content you can find in terms of streaming services.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. We just have to get the bandwidth up.
So to wrap up the podcast here towards the very end, I have a list of good things to look forward to in 2021.
All right, let's hear it.
What
do you got?
To look forward to in the new year. Obviously, the vaccines for COVID-19 are rolling out. I've been seeing people get them, some of my friends, so that's good.
Really?
That's good to see. Yeah, a couple of my friends have been getting them. They're in healthcare, so it makes sense. Okay. Regardless, still good to see. There's going to be a Friends reunion in 2021. That's gonna be on HBO Max. They're gonna sit down and talk about the show and whatnot, which is kind of cool.
Those plastics.
Disney World turns 50. So that's kind of cool, I guess.
And they're crickets.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. It's like
50, go.
No.
The Summer Olympics in Tokyo.
Is it going to happen?
Maybe.
If they happen, we'll see.
Do you think it's going to happen? What's the over/under?
I think it'll probably happen.
You say
well,
yes.
It depends
what
on
do you say?
when it is.
I think there's too much money to be lost. I think this past year everybody looked at how much money they lost because of this, and they're like, never again.
Yeah, probably true. Okay, what's next, Harrison?
Two more things. The Mars landing. Apparently, there's going to be a flyover of Mars, and there's going to be a cart of some kind that drops down onto Mars that they're dropping off the rover through the land or something. I don't know, or whatever.
Cool.
It's gonna be cool. The last thing is that for Dad is that Instacart and Bumble are going public in the stock market. So there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Have to keep our eye on that.
All right, those are all things to
I
look forward to.
think Elon Musk, this is just a quick aside about the Mars. That's what's fascinating to me about humanity is that constant drive to explore.
Yep.
And constant
Find those new
and you take these brilliant people like that say, of course there's a solution. Let's do it this way.
Yeah.
And the commercialization of space I think is going to be much faster than we could have imagined. Now that they're doing it for profit, and I read an article about that, and they were talking about how the bureaucracy, where before if you're doing it for profit, then there's an incentive to do it well, perpetuate it. Whereas before the moon program, basically Congress just cut it and it was over.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a company that does it, it's very different. I think, and Musk's plan to take someone to Mars, I think he can do it.
Oh, I bet he can do it for sure.
That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
If you could do that.
I am looking forward to adding Lauren Crestis here.
Yes, absolutely.
New veterinarian graduating from Purdue in May.
Yes.
Is joining us. And so we're looking forward to that. And we are looking forward to Dr. Dudley's baby.
It's a girl, right?
Is going to be a girl. And yeah, you're right.
Baby Dudley.
We're going to outfit her in some Tennessee gear. Much to Dudley's probably chagrin, but anyway, and so that baby is going to be arriving hopefully in late April,
right?
early
April.
May.
It's
She
an
would tell
exciting
you the
time.
earlier the better.
Exciting time.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
What I have a question for Harrison. 2021. Do you think we'll learn anything more about UFOs?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I do too.
Because whoever didn't, I read that, did they say that they have to, the U.S. has to release info
and
on what they know.
That new bill.
Yeah, the new
180
bill.
days.
Yeah, in 180 days they have to release. I don't think is it all info? I think it's just.
I forget. It was
I think it's
some
I think-
weird
I think it-
rider they put in there.
I think it's new info. I think they have to release new info they have on any UFO type deal in the next 180 days.
Oh, also I forgot we have Jessica and Michaela both also having babies. We have babies coming out the walls
I know,
here,
right?
Windows, walls,
That's what
everywhere.
happens. One happens an avalanche.
Oh gosh, we're just gonna line them all up. They're gonna be all these all-star babies.
It is funny though how like even you and your sisters. I mean, you guys had babies kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Similar,
I mean, similar times. So yeah, it's fun. It's that fun time. That kind of goes also to the point of time goes by so fast.
Harrison, any babies?
Nothing's
I
aware
saw,
of.
I saw the cost of a baby the other day, and one of my friends he was like, "Yeah, this baby cost $37,000 to deliver." I was like, "Oh, okay, no, not right
Mom,
now."
okay, real quick. Can I tell you a funny story
Oh,
before we wrap
gosh.
up? I remember once, I think it was in our Christmas letter when she was expecting you. It said in there, it was a kind of a swipe at me. It says, Richie is continuing to calculate the cost of every diaper, every ounce of formula. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's funny because in Parks and Rec, Ben and Leslie, for spoilers, anybody who's not seen Parks and Rec, Ben and Leslie get together, and they have I think it's triplets. And
Oh,
so
God.
Ben he's very much like Dad, but like 10 times more in terms of like being particular about cost and whatnot. So he's like has a spreadsheet. He just looks like he hasn't gotten sleep in 10 days, and he's like, "Oh, Leslie, this is going to cost thousands upon thousands of dollars to do this and this." And Leslie like has to calm him down. But that's how I was thinking the other day because I was like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, this is another funny story. When I worked at Price Waterhouse, I was out to lunch with some of my colleagues in the office, and we were talking about. None of them had kids. I was the only one at Harrison and Trevor, and they're both in daycare. And I said, "Yeah, daycare is at least $20,000 a year." And there was like a collective silent moment, like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, man, it's $20,000 a year because that's what it costs to put your kids in daycare." And gosh, that was 20 years ago. God knows what it costs now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. No, you're right though. But you know what? It more than makes up for it. I mean, all the kids.
Oh gosh,
the
yeah.
joy
All
they
the
bring
memories.
you and everything. It doesn't matter. That's why.
How much? This might be a very vague question, but like the cost could be $37,000, but how much do you pay? How much would you pay?
I'd be surprised if it's 37,000. I don't ever
Yeah,
remember
I
paying
agree.
that. I mean, usually it wasn't our experience, but a lot of times now they'll induce you, and then you're out of there in a day and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't keep you there very long unless there's complications. I think it's almost like not even 2 days.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, what do you pay? Like, what do you pay out of pocket?
It just
then?
depends on the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know. I shouldn't say.
I mean, I don't remember 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah.
It was. I don't ever remember paying that though.
Yeah.
I should know. We've had plenty of them, but I don't remember. I don't ever remember. And you know what else is fascinating too is that it's like a hotel room. You walk in,
Yeah.
and it's like a hotel room. You're sitting there, and all of a sudden these panels open, and all this stuff. It's like, whoa, what is going on?
Oh gosh. Well, listen, it has been amazing sharing this entire last year with everybody and
Absolutely.
listening and all the support and encouragement, from everybody out there who participates in the podcast as far as guests go.
Yes.
And listeners. And we just really enjoy the interaction and the feedback that we've gotten this year.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully as we come into next year, we've got some more entertaining content for you guys and some other entertaining guests. And Harrison, we were just talking about before the podcast, he's going to mix some things up here on the set for us as we come into the next year. So
we're gonna make some tech investments, and it should be good.
yeah. So don't forget, check us out on Mondays.
Yep.
Somewhere around 11 o'clock most Mondays, depending on homeschool schedule.
Cooperation.
And cooperation from Calvin. And we hope everybody has an awesome New Year's Eve tonight.
Yes.
Go out, celebrate, do whatever you do to have fun, and enjoy the fact that you are celebrating
made it
New Year's Eve.
To the end.
You made it through 2020, and you kicked its ass.
Now it begins again with 2021.
And start it over, baby.
Get ready for your butt to be kicked again.
No, and I think this, it's funny. I made a joke earlier about one more trip around the sun, and I think that I'm very grateful that we made it through 2020.
That's right.
And I think everybody else should be grateful as well, and know that there are always brighter days ahead, regardless of how bad the previous year was.
So to quote somebody famous that I ride to on Peloton, we won't mention any names, Leanne Hansby, but yes to
Coach Crush.
you for making it through 2020.
Right.
So don't forget, music's magic. In case you're out there riding your Peloton. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. I'm Emily King.
I'm Richie King.
Have a great New Year's Eve.